what happened last night in the game, I simply cannot remember a Dolphin game that felt like that for a variety of reasons. They have dared to give us reasons to hope in this region. We do not trust this team. We expect that in December, but this team's going to be different. And before December gets hard, that's the one you're going to lose that way? Because Chris Cody and others had already banked that one. Stugotz said everyone had banked that one. I'm telling them, hey, football's football, man. Don't just tell me you think you're going to win all the games because the schedule's easy. Last night, footballed in both games. But what I want to talk about in what is happening as we enter December, Stugotz, and December's hard, and I'm telling you now, I fear that Buffalo's better. And I feared it all year, and it's not because of that game last night. I just think Buffalo's very good, and because I've been in this market long enough, I, like so many people on my text strings last night, felt the feeling of the irrational, emotional hyperventilation of this feeling right here tonight is worse than a 1-15 season because that 1-15 season, I didn't hope for shit. I didn't think, I'm not saying it's reasonable. I'm not thinking it's sane, but I'm telling you, Dolphin fans have something here where they've dared to trust this team. And last night, that trust was betrayed in a way that we haven't seen all season. And if they can't actually beat a good team, at least they'd allowed us to reside in the comfort of they're not going to lose to any of the bad ones. And they lost to a bad one last night in an inconceivable fashion. At the end of that game, Stugotz, the win probability was 99.7 for the Dolphins. They were up 14 with 4 minutes left in the football game.
3 minutes to go, actually.
But they also, watching the game, had no business being up 14. They got lucky with those turnovers where they got those turnovers. That game seemed to shift, but then at the end, it kind of went right back to where it had been all day long.
I agree with everything you just said, but the only thing I'm holding on to is that every good team in the league has kind of done this. You lose against a bad team. We'll give you one.
Yes, but what every team in the league has not done, $5 for the phlegm in your voice at the end.
Rough night, Dano.
He battled. By the way, it should be noted that even though you might find some agreement with your take that Buffalo is better, still plus money to make the playoffs for Buffalo. They put themselves in quite the hole this season.
But Buffalo beat Miami 48-20.
Sometimes better teams miss the playoffs,
right.
and sometimes the lesser teams win the division. By the way, I don't think that's what's happening here. I think Miami's still a good team, and this stuff tends to happen during a season. However, that was the rare game you had no business even winning that you somehow blew in improbable fashion. It was a bizarre game because the Dolphins played like garbage.
This will all depend going forward on Tyreek Hill and his health, right? Because without him, they were dreadful. When he came back, they were fine. I mean, he's the MVP. He is the MVP of the NFL.
They weren't fine. He gave the offense a spark, but they still had plenty of help from Will Levis on their touchdowns and special teams plays. They really didn't. That game got up to a 14-point spread, and it had no business being there.
The first 3 quarters of that game were dreadful. The fourth quarter was amazing. I object to a couple of things you have said because when you talk about Buffalo's playoff chances, you are correct. But because of what happened last night, the division is still in play. And you can say Buffalo's schedule is tough, but so is Miami's. And I think Buffalo is a better football team. I've thought it for 2 years, but we will see what happens. You are right. Buffalo might not make the playoffs. But the part I object to more is what Chris Cody is saying. When he says we've seen football teams do this all year, this is footballing. No, we haven't seen football teams, A, do this, lose in a heartbreaking fashion that shakes your fan base. And also, you had the number 1 seed in your sights, home field, it was all there for you, and you choked it up at home against a bad team on national television. We have not seen that happen this year to anybody. No, there's nobody in the league that has happened to where they've got everything lined up. It almost happened to Baltimore. On Sunday.
It's happened to the Kansas City Chiefs 2 weeks ago.
And the Jags.
Right. Just hold. Everyone calm down.
Yeah.
Okay? Because they still play Baltimore later this season. It was a loss. It was a bad loss. Yeah. But if Tyreek Hill is fine, I believe the Dolphins will be fine.
A margin of error that went away.
I don't know if Tyreek Hill is fine. And when you tell me that this happened to Kansas City. No, Kansas City did not lose to Tennessee. Tennessee's bad. It's a bad football team. Buffalo's not bad. Kansas City lost to Buffalo at home. None of these teams lose to a 2-touchdown underdog. Tennessee has no reason in that game to do anything other than fall down on the floor. The problem is that Vrabel will give his dick in order to win a Super Bowl.
Eagles lost to the Jets.
Earlier this season. Yes.
I just think that...
And the Chiefs lost to the Broncos when the Broncos were bad, but now the Broncos, watch out for them.
And Will Levis told us after the game that's a special group they got there.
I don't like him.
But Dan makes a good point. Mike Vrabel would give up his dick. I mean...
Why don't you like Levis?
Veiny arms.
I mean, look at him. You know why I don't like him. I don't think there's even words. I think everybody kind of gets the same feeling, right? You look at him, you're just like, I don't like him.
If he's on your team, you like him?
No.
Not really?
No.
Even if he's on your team helping you win football games.
I mean, he also almost cost him that football game
I
1,000
understand,
times.
but he
that
pulled
is
it
one
out.
of the worst pitches I've ever seen in my entire life. How do you throw it over and behind Derrick Henry's head? How did that happen? I don't like him.
Greg Cody, give us the perspective as the homer who had to rewrite that column 3 times last night.
Yeah,
you wrote every column last night, and then the one you filed in the last 5 minutes could not have been something you were very proud of, given the insanity of trying to write the column differently 3 different times with 9 minutes
That's
to spare.
correct. To the point where on the Brightline train coming to the studio for this show, I was essentially tweaking the column to make it a little bit more presentable because it was terrible last night. It was one of the weirdest, strangest games I've ever had to write or watch or endure. And here comes the homer in me. You're going to tease me for what I'm about to say. The reaction to this loss is amusing to me. They're 8-1 against teams that they should beat. Okay, 8-1. That's pretty good. I believe in the law of averages. I believe they were due for a game like this. And what's amazing is how everybody, including my wife, who's a bigger Dolphin fan than I am, she's like, these were the same old Dolphins. These were the Dolphins we're used to. Okay, they had a shit game. They did. They were terrible. And Tyreek Hill's missing a quarter and a half of the game certainly didn't help.
And Armstead being out and them losing Connor Williams early in the game.
That was huge because Tua is not great under pressure.
He has not been rushed like that all season.
No, he hasn't.
That has not happened all season, where he's got 5 sacks and he's in trouble all game, and at the end of the game, you don't have much confidence they're going to be able to get down the field.
Right, and for the first time this season, you had an occasion to see him sacked and hope he got up right away, because this is the concussion issue raising its ugly head. Listen, they can still win. They're still the favorite to win the AFC East. The number 1 seed is still in play. The team has a statement to make against the Jets. I thought the Jets would be the tougher game than Tennessee. That's the dispiriting part of it. But if they beat the Jets, they're still going to have reached the 10-win mark more quickly on the calendar than any Dolphin team since 2000. The good season they're having at 9-4 is not abandoned. There's no need to go back to square one and panic.
Now, they're still 97% to make the playoffs. So the discussion we should be having here is just what do we project them in the playoffs? And I have to admit, I said it like a week ago. Tua makes me nervous. When you look around the league at other quarterbacks, as much as I love his accuracy, when everything is perfect, I love Tua. But last night you saw it on the final drive. When shit breaks down, he's not getting out of that pocket.
Right.
And I'm just saying, I'm still pro Tua, but you just can't look at him and think he's on the level with these other guys outside the pocket. I could rattle off 7 quarterbacks: Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Herbert's hurt, but there's Jalen Hurts. Everybody, when they get out of the pocket, I'm terrified. When Tua, when it breaks down, the other teams are happy.
I don't like this. I feel like Dan and Chris are looking for a reason to be Dolph-out, and they've just been waiting for it all season long, and they've been waiting for a reason to criticize. Chris has been over here, a secret Chargers fan the whole time. It didn't
3
work
years
out
ago
for him.
You tell him,
Now
Billy.
He's here, and he's back on the Dolphins thing, but he's always kind of been out on the Dolphins.
So
And
you
guys-
like Tua out of the pocket?
You guys
when
just
shit
wanna
breaks.
be-
See,
you
you don't
guys
like.
just
Can we
wanna
talk
be
about the game, or
Dolph-out.
you want to just
No.
do this like
You either like him or you don't
Dolphin,
like him.
Dolph-out?
Exactly
Let's
right.
talk about it.
No,
Hey,
you guys
he
just
was
wanna
getting
be
somewhere,
Dolph-out.
Chris.
Right.
Exactly right.
We like talking in general terms.
I just want to talk about Tua.
No, you guys want to have reasons to criticize and complain about this team that has given you a 9-4 start so far.
Can I be Dolphin?
You can be Dolphin,
Good.
but
I
we
like
need to
them.
decide today.
I think
Right.
because
good.
come playoff time, we're not going to be the Dolphins fan and the Dolphins show again when the going got tough and you guys got going. going.
It sounds to me like everybody could use a hug because a hug is always the right size.
Kid.
Winnie the Pooh, go sit in the penalty box.
What?
For 2 minutes.
Try
please.
so hard.
Is that even like an expression of Winnie the Pooh?
That he's trying to. He's got a lot of punishments that he's got to.
How is he always losing? Or is just no one else doing anything?
I think Teron Armstead and Connor Williams are more important than Tua.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
I think without them, I don't think we're gonna like the offense.
You're reeling, man. I mean,
Dude, we need our left tackle and center.
I understand
Look
talking
at the games we've played this year without them.
Chris,
strong,
I get
man.
talking about injuries. Tennessee, on top of being a bad team, they were also pretty hurt. I mean,
They had a hurt corner.
The injury excuse doesn't really match up when you're playing the Tennessee Titans.
And we can talk about Tua if you want, because we do get obsessed with these things, okay? And I understand. And Billy, it is a good point that you are making, and I do think over the course of this show, we should identify on charts and with notarized witnesses who's Dolphin and who's Dolph-out.
I'm Dolphin. I'm allowed to have a thought.
yeah, that's
I'm allowed to
debatable.
just have a thought about Tua.
You don't get to
vote.
decide. I think, you know what? I don't think anyone else can actually even say if they're Dolphin or Dolph-out. I think we all need to vote on if someone's Dolphin or
Like
Dolph-out.
Survivor style.
Yeah.
Can I start by saying I trust Tua outside the pocket?
There you go.
Because I love him like a son.
Mike, I vote Dolphin.
wow.
Okay.
Thank you, Billy.
Yes. In fact, okay, Billy, we will figure out how to do that before the end of the show in committee form or survivor form, who's Dolphin and Dolph-out. But as you talk about Tua and as you talk about their offensive line and as you talk about Stugotz, you talk about Tyreek Hill for MVP.
Yes.
It does sort of ignore that with 4 minutes left in that game, they had a 14.2 touchdown lead, and it was the absolute fault of the defense that allowed a bad football team to go down the field twice, and the second time, Stugotz, in 2 chunks
Yeah.
that you would have expected from the Dolphin offense all season, the way that they play football. That Dolphin defense fell apart, and what now comes for Tua as his offensive line falls apart is all of the criticism, because nobody's going to be blaming the defense today nationally. It's going to be about questioning Tua. Nationally, the conversation is going to be, I don't trust the Dolphins, and I don't trust the quarterback because they can be slowed, and it's going to be ignored that they were up 2 touchdowns in that game, and the defense totally fell apart.
But the argument can be made the defense also got them in that game.
Yes.
Because they had the turnovers. They got them to the field position. One of them was special teams, where there was that botched punt where they recovered on like the 10-yard line or whatever. But the defense had turnovers. They had an interception return for a touchdown. They had a fumble recovery that put them right in the end zone. So like it was a weird defensive game because they did blow it at the end and they gave back the lead, but they also got them in the position to get that lead.
The conversation is always about the quarterback. When they win, he gets all the praise. When they lose, he's the guy that gets blamed. Dan, he did have opportunities. Even when they scored and got it to a 7-point game, they had an opportunity to put the game away with a drive, and he couldn't do it.
Offensive line.
They had the ball last. You can blame Tua all you want, but I prefer not.
They left a lot of points on the board as well. They're very cute inside the red zone. Just run it down their throats.
Stugotz, they've been the best red zone team in the league. They were cute last night because they didn't get what you wanted, but they've been the best red zone team in the league on offense. And I would just consult you. I know you're not going to listen to me on this.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the conversation is all about Tua because I'm just going to do quarterback either wins or loses, and that's what I'm going to do. A 99.7% winning percentage, Tua was on the sideline when they had that. He wasn't playing.
Right.
He wasn't in the game to get tackled by his offensive line. And with 4 minutes left in a football game they had at home, and not only at home, Stugotz, with a crowd that was pumped up because the previous 4 minutes were nuts.
Right.
Like what the Dolphins did in the fourth quarter before that were nuts. So the crowd is elevated, and you let Will Levis go right down the field on you in chunks. Like that, what does Tua have to do with that? Explain to me what Tua has to do with that.
I want to be Dolphin, so Tua was great last night.
I do have a question about Tua. Not doubting his prowess, but what's with the fumbles? 13 games played, 12 fumbles.
He could take you out, too. You know that.
One of those crucial in the red zone when it looked like they drew up an interesting play for Achane to get in the end zone. I would have appreciated that. Just drops the ball. I mean, this is ridiculous. this copious amount of fumbles. He's had this problem throughout his career. He's damn near averaging a fumble a game.